Hey guys. Okay, so we've been getting a lot of questions from people about Etsy and from people who have never been on the platform and want to, from people who have been on the platform and it's been a while, and also from people who do Etsy every day. So we kind of wanted to put out some videos to help anybody who might be stuck in some certain areas. This is going to be like a series of videos. This is the first one. I'm going to kind of go over the basics of a listing, why we do certain things. This is just our way that we do it. But we're going to go over in other videos multiple ways that you can do certain things. But we kind of just want to start slow and then build up to that. But yeah, we just we know like people are struggling right now, and especially with merch shutdown and just, people getting laid off or furloughed, or it's a really crazy time. So we just were like, what can we do to help? So we thought this could be a good way for us to, reach out and try to help some people out. And so I hope this helps. But let's get started. So I'm going to just kind of go over how I build a listing. This one is going to be from scratch. And we will also do a video how to do a listing and change a listing if you're like pushing from Printful. And then we're also going to show you how to load things up into like other PODs like Shortly. But yeah, so those are like the two I'm most familiar with. But if you guys wanted to look into other POD stuff, we could always maybe do some research and work on a video that kind of shows other platforms that people use as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so let's just say this is an apparel listing. You can also do digital products if you wanted to like sell your designs in an SVG file, or if you wanted to do like instant download printables, things like that. But I'm going to treat this like this is a apparel listing. All right, so I've loaded in the mock-ups that I'm going to use for this listing. For myself, I do not use more than 3 colors for a listing. I feel like sometimes if customers have too many options, they get overwhelmed and sometimes won't buy anything because they can't decide which one they like more. So I give them the standard black because I kind of feel like that's a staple. And then I always try to offer like a lighter color, and then another neutral color, but maybe something other than black, so a navy or a dark gray. And then I also offer a white depending on the design if peach doesn't work. So I have about 5 to 6 colors of shirts that I use throughout my store, but for every listing I don't use more than 3. And that goes for every apparel item I use. Currently we only use 3 different apparel items. And the other thing is, we do not put multiple items in a listing. I only do 1 item per listing. So like I won't have tank tops and shirts in 1 listing. So there are other people who are definitely successful and do that. And we will do a video showing you how to build out a listing with multiple products. But for this time, I'm going to try and keep it simple, and we're just going to do it as if it was 1 item. Okay, so I've loaded up my mock-ups. I also include a size chart, and I create size charts based on my branding. So I will include the same fonts, colors, and or graphics that I use in my logo and or banner. So this one's just a generic one that I made for this, but if it was for my store, I brand it so it looks like the other graphics in my shop, so everything's cohesive. The other thing I add here is because I want to include information for customers to find. I add this kind of information in multiple places. So this is just our processing and ship times. A lot of times people will scroll through pictures because, people like pictures. They'll scroll through and they might find this here to give them information because a lot of people always ask, like, what are your ship times? What's your processing? When am I going to get this? And then I just put other things on there, like if you need an item by a certain date, to contact us before you order. So just to try and catch the customer before they, because sometimes they'll send me an order and then they're like, I need it in 2 days. It's like, yeah, I can't do that. So there's just certain things we try to do to kind of answer customer questions before they have to ask. So for title, again, title and tags, we're going to go over in a different video because it's a little bit more in depth and I don't want this to be an hour-long video. So moving on to about the listing, who made it? I did. Unless you have like a member of your shop who does your designs for you, but if not, it's I did. Finished product. And when did you make it? I am made to order. So if you're selling products that you make, like if you're doing like painted canvases and they're like already made, then obviously you would put when you made it. But if it's made to order, then it's made to order. All right. So for category, you can type whatever it is. So if you're selling t-shirts, type t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, totes, whatever, and then it'll start to break everything down for you. So what I do is I just we're going to type in t-shirts. Okay, and then you kind of just choose the one that works for you. This is a unisex top, so I could choose unisex adult clothing. I could also choose women's clothing because, for instance, if my shop is all women, then I might choose that because then it's in like a more niched category. So I'm going to choose women's clothing. Okay. For scale, I don't use this. I have information on the size down in the variation, so I don't need to add anything here. Primary color is basically whatever the default picture is. So if my default picture is black, then I will choose my primary color as black. And my secondary color is going to be the most prominent or important color in the design. So I will choose red. Also, one thing I want to go over with these mock-ups. So when I'm adjusting it, I do want to zoom in a little bit because I want that design to pop and be the focus of the thumbnail, because if you think about it, when people are scrolling, those thumbnails are not huge on their page, especially if they're on their phone. So I will zoom in a little bit, but not all the way. Like I won't do this because then it kind of loses one, what it's actually on, and two, it sort of loses the vibe of your mock-up, and it just kind of doesn't really give you what you need. So I try to zoom in, but just not too much, and just kind of make sure it's centered in the square. And then it still has like the feel of the mock-up, the look, and the vibe, I guess, because then it just kind of gives your store a certain feel. And then we'll save that. Okay, so moving on. So back down here into clothing style, I choose athletic. They're just t-shirts. You know, they're not military or gothic or any of this. So I just choose athletic. For fabric pattern, it's solid. Sleeve length is short sleeve, crew neck. And so for occasion, I only choose this if the design is actually made for this. If you're like, well, it could be for a birthday or it could be for a wedding, it's like, no. If it's not actually something specifically for birthday, like if you're, selling a shirt that says like, I'm 7 or whatever for like a birthday, that would be in the birthday occasion. But if this could be a birthday gift and it's just sort of a niche that's outside of that, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be a good thing for you to choose a birthday as the occasion. Because what Etsy's going to do is when people are searching for these things, they're going to put this design in this category under birthday, back to school, baptism, whatever. And it's going to keep showing up for people. And they're not going to click on it because it doesn't pertain to what they're actually looking for. So the more times that happens and nobody clicks on it, nobody purchases it, it just gets pushed down. And Etsy is going to stop showing it because nobody's buying it. So they don't make money, you don't make money, nobody makes money. So you want to make sure that you're only choosing an occasion when it pertains to the actual design. Same thing with holiday. If it could be a Christmas gift, doesn't necessarily mean that you should put it under Christmas. Now, if it's a mug with Santa on it, then yes, absolutely. It's a design that you created for Christmas time. So just kind of keep that in mind when choosing that. For renewal options, I choose manual. So for manual, when something expires, it means it's been up for 4 months and hasn't sold. Even if it sells once, it will still fall off after. If it sells once and then it doesn't sell again for 4 months, it'll expire. It does not delete. It just goes into your expired category and won't show up for customers anymore. So I want it to fall off because I want to see what isn't selling. So I can make the decision, do I want to just renew it and push it back up and everything's good and give it another chance? Or maybe I want to change the mockups, maybe try a different color, maybe switch the default picture around, adjust keywords, tags, etc. So I would do manual because automatic means it just keeps renewing automatically, and then you don't really know what is and isn't selling. I mean, you can look at the stats, but I mean, it's nice when it falls off because then you kind of know. It's easier. So for type, so this is going to be a physical item, meaning that people will receive something in the mail, a t-shirt. Digital obviously is going to be something that they instantly download once purchased and the payment has processed. So you would choose digital if you're selling SVGs or instant downloads, mock-ups, etc. So this is going to be physical. And then for the description, I have a sheet. Sorry, I had this open and I closed it. So I have a sheet that breaks everything down for me based on what I've sold or am selling. So I have it for each item, and then I would just copy and paste. And then I always like to have like a little bit of a blurb up here that uses some of the keywords that I found when doing the listing, and I kind of just make it into a sentence, like something like, oh, this would be a great gift. This is a great gift for moms on Mother's Day. Oops. My gosh. Okay. And then maybe there's other keywords I found, like this love shirt is perfect for everyday wear and is soft and comfortable. I could put something like more, oh my gosh, information below, and you can find a size chart in the pictures. Okay, so just something like that where I'm noting again that there's more information below, because sometimes depending on where they're looking, it like cuts off. So it's not going to automatically show all of this information here. And then I just reiterating that there is a size chart in the pictures in case they didn't scroll through pictures. And I give a little bit of highlight about the item, and then again I talk about processing times and things like that. Okay, so for a production partner, that's if somebody is printing for you or creating something for you that you are not doing yourself. You have to note this for Etsy to know, because somewhere this order is being pulled and information is going back and forth, and Etsy wants to know who that is. And so over here in settings is where you would set it up. So you would it has like a little thing you fill out. It's like the location of where your printer is, the name, and then you can change. You have to put the name in there, but you can make the name private and then put like a whatever your shop name is, so and so's printers or whatever. So, but that way Etsy knows who's printing for you. And then once you add those in, they'll all pop up here, and then you check off which ones you will be using for this particular listing. And so then on custom orders, if you want people to be able to request custom work, then you can leave that checked, or if you don't want to do custom work, you would just uncheck that. And so sections are a great way for customers to find more of the same type of items that they want, because they found something when they searched for it. So I try to even if you have a niche store, there's usually something within the store that's a little bit more niche down, like, you know, a niche within a niche. So I try to separate so that it just is a little bit easier for customers to find the items that they want. And that way maybe they might buy more than one or find something else that they like more. You can have up to 20 sections, and you can change them and move them around and however, you know, you want to do it. Again, tags and materials, Matt is going to go over that. So for price, price is very important, and I kind of wanted to touch on a few things here. So if you are being charged from either a print provider, or if you're buying material and doing vinyl or whatever, however you're doing it, you have to figure out how much you're being charged for the cost to make it. So let's say Printful. Okay, let's just take them because it's easier. They charge, I think, $12.95. I could be wrong. So let's say they charge $12.95 for a 3001 Bella Canvas shirt. And they say, okay, great, this is what we're charging you. And then you say, all right, I want to charge this much for it. And they're like, okay, well, here's how much you're making. You have to remember that you also have to include shipping. So whatever Printful or whoever is printing for you, if they're charging you shipping, you have to include that in your price to remove that from your profit, because obviously you're paying that. You also have to include the 8% charge from Etsy. So Etsy charges 5% for every sale, and they also have a 3% transaction fee for the credit card. So you have to just chop that right off your profit as well, because a lot of people don't think about that and realize that, and that's really important, because then you might not be making as much money as you thought, and sometimes you're losing money. So just be sure that you are doing the math on that. And also don't forget about the 20-cent charge to push listings live. And if you're doing advertising, you have to factor that into your budget as well. It kind of gives you a better idea of how many shirts or totes or mugs or downloads or whatever you're doing, you know, how much you're actually making and what your goals need to be. So you can create like a spreadsheet and whatnot. That's what we do. We have an Excel spreadsheet that I use. All right, so quantity, if you're pushing something from Printful, it usually sets your quantities at 999. I usually try and change it between 25 and 45. I just think it looks better, but you know, it's all up to you. I don't do anything with SKUs. It is optional, as it says, so I don't do anything with that. Allows restock requests, sure. I mean, you can hit yes. I don't ever do it. I usually keep track. I keep an eye on my stocks. It is, if something goes out of stock, somebody can request that you refill it. And usually with made to order stuff, it's not that big of a deal. You can just, you know, pop the number back up. And it will show when you're sold out. If you do sell out and you go down to 0, it shows up in your sold out, and then you can just renew it and add a quantity and it puts it back. So moving on. So variation. So this is what customers are going to see when they are going to purchase your item. So what I do here is I add my own. Even when I used to use Printful and I would push it, they would put something here and I would just completely delete it. And again, I will go over that in a different video. So what I do now is I go down to the bottom to create new variation, and I make one that's called style and size, and I hit add. And then I click prices vary for each style and size, because depending on the size, some of my prices are different. If for some reason every single price of every single size is the same, then you don't need to check this, but I do. So choose variation type. Again, I add another one. Oops. Oh my gosh, why is this being so weird? Okay. And then I have color. Alright, so in the style and size, this is where I'm going to add my size, and I do unisex t-shirt. Ugh, that is not. I am horrible at typing today. Alright, so unisex t-shirt. I usually copy this so it's a little bit easier to, and this is also another way for people to see that it is a unisex shirt. XL. 2X, and obviously you would put in there whatever your sizes are. Okay, I'm just going to go up to 2X, and then for my colors I have black, heather peach, Heather Navy. Okay. All right, so then I hit save and continue, and then it puts everything in here for me. I click here, update price. Let's do 30, and then for my 2X, we'll do 32. And then over here on link photos, you would go to color, and then this is where you can actually link the photo to the correct color. That way when the customer in the drop down menu chooses Heather Peach or Heather Navy, that color will show up on the screen so they can actually see like what color is actually what, which is really nice. It's a new feature that's been added with like in the last 6 months or so. It might be longer, I don't know. It's been a newer development. Okay, so after that you could just go to save as draft, and then oops. Oh, you know what, because I don't have titles, so I can't save as draft, but you would save as draft, and then you can let me go back out and I can show you discard changes. Okay, so let's just say these are your drafts. These are obviously the drafts for my these are actually my expired listings, but so these are my drafts for my mock-ups, but let's just say this is your draft template. You would just come to this little thing here and hit copy, and then it will copy this listing, and then you would just delete your pictures and put in your new design, and then everything else is pretty much the same unless you're changing like a color or something, then you'll need to adjust that. And then it's best to like to do like batches of like similar designs. Like if you're, say you have like 10 designs that are all like sloth related, I would do those all at the same time, and then that way all your keywords are kind of the same, and then but yeah, you can just copy the listing and then just change things around as you go. And then Matt will again go into that a little bit more when he's going to show you how to like change your title around and things like that when you're doing batches of similar designs and things like that. Okay. So I think that's all I have for today. I hope that this video was helpful, and if you have any questions, just reach out. Okay, thanks.